Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful spiritual journeys on the planet, the Hajj. But here's the thing, this isn't just about the rituals you see. It's actually a story of a rescue mission. It's about how a tradition, an ancient one, got kind of lost over the centuries and then was brought back, restored to its absolute purest form. So how does that even happen? How does something so sacred, so pure, lose its way? And maybe more importantly, how do you get it back? This is really the heart of our story today. It's a journey from corruption to purification, a story about reclaiming a direct line to the divine that had been buried for centuries. Okay, so to really get the importance of this restoration, we've got to understand what was broken in the first place, right? So let's jump into time machine and head back to the Arabian Peninsula, way before the time of Prophet Muhammad. Believe it or not, the pilgrimage was already a thing, but its original purpose? Man, it was buried deep under layers and layers of traditions that had totally lost the plot. And see, the crazy thing is, its foundation was so pure. The Kaaba, that iconic cube-shaped building right in the heart of Makkah, it was originally built by Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael, and they built it for one simple, profound reason: to worship one God. That's it. It was meant to be this beacon of pure monotheism. But you know how things go. Over hundreds of years, that original, beautiful purpose, it became almost unrecognizable. I mean, look at the difference here. What started as Abraham's legacy of pure, simple monotheism, tawhid, well, it devolved into something else entirely. The Kaaba was stuffed with hundreds of idols. Superstition totally took over where devotion should have been. The pilgrimage itself became more like a giant trade fair, and some people were even performing the rituals completely naked. The very soul of the Hajj was just gone. And this is where the mission of Prophet Muhammad really kicks in. You see, his role wasn't to come up with some brand new religion. Not at all. It was to restore something ancient, something sacred that had been lost. It was a mission of purification, plain and simple, to bring the Hajj right back to its original Abrahamic roots. Now, the guiding principle for this whole mission, the engine behind everything, is this one crucial concept: tawhid. It's the absolute bedrock of Islam. It's this powerful, unshakable belief in the oneness of God. It means you strip away everything else, all the idols, all the partners, all the intermediaries, and you return worship to its one true source. This idea, it was the driving force for everything that was about to happen. And this mission, it wasn't just based on a good idea. It was guided by divine revelation. The Quran was constantly reminding people what the pilgrimage was really all about. It wasn't about making money or showing off your tribe's power. Nope. It was about sincerity, about sacrifice, and about remembering God, and only God. This was the spiritual blueprint, laying the groundwork for the physical cleanup that had to come. So, okay, that's the spiritual side. But how did this massive shift actually happen in the real world? I mean, this wasn't an overnight thing. It took a series of really key, strategic, and often super challenging events that, together, created this huge turning point. All right, picture this. It's 6 years after the Muslims migrated from Makkah to Medina. The Prophet and about 1,400 of his companions decide to go back. But here's the key. They go peacefully. They're not armed for a fight. They're dressed for pilgrimage. Their goal was just to perform the Umrah, which is kind of like a shorter pilgrimage you can do anytime. It was a simple but incredibly powerful statement of faith. But they were stopped just outside the city. And what happened next was a total masterclass in patience and strategy. In the 6th year after the Hijrah, they signed what's known as the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah. Now, on the surface, it looked like they were giving in, making concessions. But in reality, it was a genius move, a huge diplomatic win. It guaranteed them the right to come back the very next year, and they did. In year 7, they performed the first peaceful Umrah by the Muslim community in Makkah. And then, get this, just 1 year after that, they entered Mecca itself. No battle, no fight, just as humble servants. And the climax of this return? Wow, it was incredible. The Prophet walked right up to the Kaaba, and one by one, he pointed to each of the 360 idols that were polluting it. As each one was torn down, he recited a verse from the Quran: "Truth has come and falsehood has vanished." Can you imagine that moment? It was so powerful, so definitive. The physical house of God was finally cleansed, perfectly mirroring the spiritual purification that had been happening all along. So the Kaaba is purified. The stage is now officially set for the final act of this incredible restoration. 2 years later, the Prophet would lead the very first full Hajj pilgrimage, but this time in its true, pure monotheistic form. And this single event, this would become the blueprint for every single Hajj from that day forward. And just think about the scale of this for a second. Remember that first attempt at Umrah? There were 14 people. Now, for this Hajj, there are over 100,000 Muslims who've come from all over Arabia to join him. It's just massive. This journey is famously known as the Farewell Pilgrimage, and it was truly a demonstration meant to last for all time. And during this Hajj, the Prophet didn't just tell people what to do, he showed them. He personally demonstrated every single ritual, locking in its form forever. You had the ihram, those simple white garments that make everyone equal. Then the tawaf, circling the now purified Kaaba. The sa'i, walking back and forth, remembering Hajar's desperate search for water for her son. And of course, the absolute pinnacle of the Hajj, standing on the plain of Arafah. Every single step was a direct callback to the actions of Abraham and his family. But, it was so much more than just the physical rituals. On that day, at Arafah, he delivered his final sermon, and it was a message for all of humanity for all time. He declared that every person's life, their property, their honor, it's all sacred. He completely dismantled racism and nationalism, saying flat out that no Arab is better than a non-Arab, and no non-Arab is better than an Arab. The only thing that makes one person better than another, piety and good actions. This was the spiritual summit of the entire restored pilgrimage.
And as if that wasn't profound enough, on that exact same day, during that very Hajj, a verse from the Quran was revealed that basically put a divine seal on the whole thing. It declared, "Today I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you." The mission was complete. The restoration was now divinely confirmed.
So why are we talking about this story from, 1,400 years ago? What does it matter today? Well, because the legacy of that farewell pilgrimage isn't just some dusty old historical event. It is a living, breathing reality for millions and millions of people every single year. Think about it. When you see those incredible images of pilgrims circling the Kaaba today, what you're seeing is a direct continuation of that moment. They are performing the exact same rituals in the exact same way that Prophet Muhammad demonstrated on his final Hajj. They are literally walking in a continuous chain of tradition, stepping on the same ground where Abraham, Ishmael, and Muhammad once stepped. It is a direct, tangible, unbroken link back to that very moment of restoration. So here's what it all boils down to. The Hajj isn't just a checklist of rituals. It's a living, breathing reenactment of a story about losing something precious and secret and then finding it again. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? In a world that so often feels fragmented and disconnected, what can this powerful, unbroken chain of history teach all of us about our own search for connection?